Today we are gathered today to do this program, and why do we have this program on today? Elections were highly belated, but they are on the way now. Across the channel on 21st, all the president's men are here, excepting of course I believe one candidate is not here, but he chose possibly some difficulty, I can't say. All the president's men, and soon I'm sure Kirti, Abhijat, Vivek, we might have some women also at some point of time. That should be in the forthcoming.
Yeah.
But be that as it may, this election's 21st, we have the entire bar waiting, a bar of 10,000 people almost, which is phenomenal.
10,000 voters and the membership strength is exceeding 40,000.
But 10,000 voters. So ultimately, in an election and a democracy, I think we talk about the voters for one. But the betterment of 40,000 is what Abhijat was, I think, pinpointing. And that is exactly what we are looking at, and to see how our phenomenal great men, by today everybody is a senior advocate here. So they are leading the bar. Each of them has led the bar in various capacities and continue to do so. And we hope that the best man will win, of course. But today we want to just talk about what they are about, how they feel about the elections, how they feel about what they want to do, how they look at the bar, the betterment of the bar, the betterment of the institution. And incidentally, we have a great bar. I mean, I tell you, I have been there for years. I have enjoyed each and every part of it, and I'm sure most of you have. So with this, I think let's take off, Kirti. I think we'll start with you. And maybe you could just share a bit about yourself in the first instance, rather than to talk about only the elections. Let's have a little bit of background about Kirti Uppal, the great man.
As far as I am concerned, well, I never wanted to be a lawyer. I always wanted to be in the army, and in 1980, I got selected in IMA. And our family at that time, particularly the mother's side, were like, my son cannot go into the army. Anyhow, to cut short a long story short, I said I am going to be in the army because I had no other ambition. So I went and I fell from a Burma bridge and I broke my tailbone. And that's how I came back. And I said I'm not going to be a lawyer. So I did my post-graduation in history. And thereafter, like any other situation, I mean, you had no job. So you thought what to do? Okay, try for a national hobby, IAS and IPS. So I joined law. Well, I did law, and there I am. That's a very short story as far as I am concerned.
But you know, these are the stories of what all of us started out with during those days. So I guess it runs across a common thread. As you said, national hobby, I like that expression. But the other one being IAS and IFS, etc. And of course, Jubilee Hall and the bus pass that went along with the campus law center that used to be those days. So Abhijat, what's your story?
My story, ma'am.
And the great man carries across this, leaving me out of it.
Thank you for the exaggerated praise, ma'am. But my story is very short, like me. It's born in 1971 in Delhi, born, brought up, educated in Delhi, went to school, went to modern school, Basant Vihar. Did my BCom honors as a usual student from Delhi University. And after that, absolutely no aim in life, no clue as to what to do. A friend of mine who's no more alive, Vineet Malhotra, second generation lawyer, got me the admission form, the entrance exam form. And I took it with him just like that. The general knowledge was perhaps all right. And I cleared it. I took admission to the law course in Delhi University. And here we are. It's as simple as that.
Well, anyway, I'm a modern mother and a modern wife. So I have a husband who's from modern school, and I have a daughter who's from modern school, who's also in the profession.
I have a wife from modern and a daughter from modern.
So Vivek, we've known you for a long time, and we've gone through the world in some ways. I know you play a bit of golf and you take part in a lot of activities where I see you. What about you?
I come from a small place, Ludhiana, Punjab. I was packed off to Mayo College, Ajmer, to the boarding school at the age of 8 in
So
class
you ride
3.
well. Do you ride well also?
In class 3. Thereafter, I came to Delhi. And at the height of the Punjab problem in Ludhiana, Punjab, my father used to be a practicing income tax lawyer. We shifted to Delhi. He wanted me to practice in Delhi. And I always wanted to be a lawyer. So I remember in Mayo College in class 3 or 4 or 5 in the class when the teacher asked, what do you want to become? So army, Air Force, pilot, doctor, this, that, one lawyer. So everybody would look back, I always wanted to be a lawyer. I feel that this was the only profession I could get into. And it's been a wonderful journey. I've been in Delhi for the last now about 35 years. And that's it.
So, okay, guys, now these elections, I believe the High Court Bar Association started sometime in 1966.
62, the first elections were.
I stand corrected to that. So, 1962, and we are now in 2025.
25.
And I believe they were first 1 year each, and then we increased it to 2 years each. So, do you really feel that the High Court Bar Association has gone a long way in performing its activities for the betterment of the bar and for securing the ends of justice and other things according to you? Because this is in a way a presidential debate. So, here's the mic to you, Kirti.
See, one has to first understand, as far as the Bar Association is concerned, we had around 80 to 100 people and there was no election. In fact, there was no election mentioned in the rule book. It used to be raise of hand, and then it was like if 2/3 majority has no problem, then you're through. Then it got evolved, and then various situation came. Then Bar Association membership started increasing. The expectation of every member was like they were looking forward for somebody who could, they can look after them. Okay, we have this problem. So we need a representative who can, if not solve it, at least can hear it, can hear their problem. So the importance of bar started from that era, which I would say around 80s, I remember 86, I saw the development of a bar. We had great leaders like Mr. Dinesh Mathur, Mr. P. N. Lekhi, then we had Mr. Makija. All these people, they became, and they were all different personalities. So from somebody you learn something, from somebody you learn boldness, from somebody you learn how to tackle a situation.
You have to be bold to come up for presidential elections for sure.
You
right?
have to be.
That's an asset.
You have to be. I say when you have to, that's what I'm coming. And then we had Mr. Chandok, who was a great organizer. He would organize a lot of things.
Superb organizer.
So we learned various things and we realized the importance of bar. And again, accidentally, I came into this election business also because to quote unquote, slightly aggressive, slightly abrasive also.
Nothing is showing at this point of time. Right now, that aggression is not coming
slightly
through.
abrasive also, and I don't mind even that because where I feel the wrong is wrong, then I raise my voice, whether it is on that side or this side, wherever. So the bar, when it started getting the importance of members, and particularly president, there are two people in the bar who are looked after by everyone. One is the president, one is the secretary. There are other 12 members who are like your strong pillars. If those 12 pillars are not with you, because during the process, I've heard everyone, don't mind my saying, everyone says, I will do this, somebody says, I've done this. So it's not you who have done it, it's the entire executive which does it. So the importance of executive and the leadership became an important asset for the members of the bar. And they always look forward that here is a person, he is so-and-so for me. He is like a big brother. If I have a problem, I can go to him. I can go to her also. I mean, there have been other office bearers also who have been women.
Not a president, but yes, other office bearers.
So when they go and meet those people, then they feel this is the important. Otherwise, as a voter, I remember when I joined in 1986, we had Mr. Dinesh Mathur, totally vocal, and with all well-known vocal for all his anecdotes, and sometimes he was aggressive, abrasive. But we liked his personality because we said, here is a man who, if time comes, can share our grievances and can do whatever he can. Then we had Mr. Lekhi, who was
a mild man.
Everybody knows, a man who would take up cause of anyone for the institution whether it is for the judges or against certain situations of the judges. So that's how we saw development of a bar. And then we
Kings will die, horses will fly.
horses will fly.
That was Mr. Lekhi.
And that's where I guess the development of the bar we saw with our own eyes. And I'm quite happy with the growth. And we all feel, all the candidates who are there, who have their own ideas. So those ideas have to be seen by those people who are sitting there. They are 40,000 or 10,000. They choose the best one. They know that who is doing what.
You're right. I think ultimately in elections, ultimately in a democracy, and this is a democracy, things come out which are ultimately the best. And it's a result which is what everybody wants. How it happens, that's another mystery. Whether it's national elections
End
or
goal
whether
is-
it's High Court elections. But Abhijat, tell me, you've worked with the bar for a long time.
Yes.
And I do believe, incidentally, it's not surprising. The High Court bar or the Supreme Court bar for that matter, I mean, all the bars across the country, I think the bar associations serve a very big function, whether it's in lending to the institutions. So nothing is done by the institutions, even though sometimes you're technically there, sometimes technically you're not there. So what do you really feel you can contribute, and how do you think the High Court Bar Association, in our case, and I believe Delhi is one of the best by any means, so how can we as an association really contribute to the betterment of the institution, to the cause of justice, to the various reasons that are surrounded which require ourselves to be, and today we have one of the largest communities of lawyers in the country.
Now, ma'am, the Bar Association is one big wheel which drives the entire institution. Lawyers are the most important part of the institution which administers justice. So, unless the lawyers are taken care of, unless their reasonable demands are met, unless their problems are heard and solved, the institution itself will not go forward at all. Bench derives strength from the lawyers. They get enlightened by the lawyers. We guide them, we guide our clients, we guide our juniors, and we take guidance from seniors. So it's a symbiotic relationship, and the role of lawyers can't ever be undermined or underplayed. Yes, the executive committee should be in a position to have a good relationship with the bench so that they can smoothly solve problems of the members. Infrastructural issues should be solved. The experience of a young person who comes to the High Court should be seamless and a happy experience where he can concentrate on his case and not get bogged down by other distractions like filing and making photocopies and scanning documents, etc. So their improvement of infrastructure is one area where the executive committee really works, and that is my top priority. And another priority which everybody, I'm sure, shares, Kirti Bhai and Vivek Bhai also, is acquisition of land in the vicinity of the High Court, Kaka Nagar, Bapa Nagar, etc. Because chambers for lawyers are the need of the hour. I applied in 1996 and I still haven't got a chamber. So the things which need to be done have to be done through a body which is the executive committee. We are the voice of the bar and we must work for them, and that is how the institution will survive and work effectively.
So Vivek, you possibly are the youngest, huh? And I know that you've been venturing into various directions in talking and lecturing and participating in a variety. We've been together also in a few of these functions. What do you feel about the youth? You know, today ultimately, whenever we talk, India is full of youth. And this is one of our biggest points as far as the country is concerned. And by now, obviously, law has become a sought after profession. Gone are the days of yesteryears when you went in there as a last resort kind of thing. So therefore, today it's become a sought after profession, and definitely everybody is vibing. And you also have another issue. You have younger generation is a keener generation. They want everything today or yesterday. The earlier generation went through a little phase. So where do you take all this from in your role as a potential leader of the bar?
First of all, out of the 10,000 voters, 70% are less than 40. And about 35% of the voters were enrolled after 2017. So we have a very young bar. Now I have been pitching for a level playing field for the first generation young lawyers. Now when a young first generation lawyer comes to the High Court, the first problem he faces, he doesn't know which chamber to join. Because you need reference points to join any good chamber of a senior counsel or a non-senior counsel or a law firm. So that's one area where I feel that the Bar Association can at least have a database of the senior lawyers, chambers, law firms, and a database of the young first generation lawyers who come and who are seeking to get trained in a good chamber. That's one. When he joins a chamber, secondly, because his dream is to start a litigation practice. So then comes the honing of advocacy skills. Now there, I think, we have a beautiful new block. We have a beautiful auditorium. We can have mentorship programs. We can have many more book releases. We can invite many senior counsel, jurists, professors, etc. to come and lecture, to talk about advocacy skills, so that those skills are imparted to the junior, the young first generation lawyer. Then it comes to survival. Now, of course,
I was just going to say, survival is the key word in law.
Of course, now for survival, the Bar Association cannot directly do anything about it. You cannot force a senior counsel or a law firm or any chamber that you must pay a minimum amount, X amount to the young first generation lawyer. But as the executive, as the president of the Delhi High Court Bar Association, you can at least prod the community, you can at least bring out some thought process, you can pitch it into the marketplace of ideas.
I think it's happened.
Something.
I think it's happened over the course of years. I've seen it happening. The recommendations have come, but they really haven't unfortunately been implemented in any manner.
Now proceeding further. Then finally he decides to set up his own practice. Now he has no work, no money. Now, I feel that, local commission appointments, amicus briefs, legal aid lawyers, panel counsels. I don't talk of reservation, but some preference could be given to the young first generation lawyers who have come from outside places. They're not from Delhi. So they are, they can be groomed and they can be made a happier lot if the bar executive, if the bar association executive is more proactive, it is more loving, more affectionate, more appreciative of their identity.
No, that's a great thought, obviously. But let me ask you.
The implementation.
The implementation, as I said, I have seen it happening in the past several times.
Say,
These recommendations came up.
I want to say a few words on implementation.
No.
Simple.
Just
Simple.
In a situation, you would remember when the olden days, 80s and all, the senior would say, "You are learning from us. We will not pay."
Guru Dakshina.
It's you have to pay us back. So sometime we felt. So I'm answering, and I'm agreeing with you. Sometimes we felt, where are we now? But then, when you look back, you feel that was also a time which gave you that strength that I have to survive.
No, it is actually survival, and that's what taught you everything. And today, there is a little change. I mean, obviously, changes are always happening with generational or intergenerational issues. But just we take this topic off a little now. What do you think of women as president? We were talking about it when I started the question. And before you go there, when this entire matter came up when I took up the matter in the Supreme Court.
That's right, I'm aware of that.
And we got it as an order from the court, and there was, in all fairness, a fair opposition to this entire proposal. And the whole question was whether you should make, at which post also. So president, nobody wanted to touch that, come what may. Now, of course, some people also turned around and said, "Are you standing for High Court bar elections?" I said, "I'm not. I'm fighting for the bar and I'm fighting for diversity. And I think we need diversity in a lot of directions." But there was huge opposition, there were meetings, the AGM was held, the videos of that AGM also came out, and fortunately the Supreme Court did reserve some posts for this position, and that's what's coming around. In fact, elections got delayed also for this count, and that's another thing, elections shouldn't get delayed. But having said this, Abhijat, what do you say?
Simply put, why not? Why not? It will be a nice feminine touch and a great thing for women to be presidents. I would love to have a bar led by a woman.
So next time?
Why not? Next time if a woman comes in, I'll surely give my support, provided there is merit. Merit and the will to work for the bar without any ulterior motive or oblique motive should be the criteria. And I would love to have a bar led by a woman.
Why should there be an ulterior
Let me put it like this.
Pinky, are you talking of reserving a post of
I am
president?
talking of reserving, I am talking of fighting, I am talking both.
Very good, very good.
Let me put it like
Because
this.
you do have to start the ball rolling.
Let me-
it depends on how you roll it.
Let me put it like this. If there's a person like Pinky Anand who has a good practice, see, You know it. In the bar, what you require is a practicing lawyer.
Yeah.
A practicing lawyer would understand, and particularly because you are also a first generation lawyer. It's
I am
not
a first generation.
and you
So-
have
so am I,
you've gone
so are
through
you, I think.
Yeah.
you have gone through all this phase where you realize and you see those problems, the problems which you face day to day. So you realize, and when you reach a particular level, that teaches you how am I going to resolve this situation which this person is facing.
That's it.
That's
May
important.
I just
Of course.
contribute? May I?
Obviously.
See, there are two schools of thought. For example, I spoke to Rachana Srivastav, the Vice President of the Supreme Court Bar Association. I said, Rachana, should there be reservation for women in the executive? She said, absolutely not. Because I'll fight my way into the system. I fought my way to become the Vice President. When I spoke to Shobha Gupta and others who took up the cause, they say no.
My client,
They
so to
say,
say.
yeah, so they say no, we need some affirmative action. So both these positions coexist. But in my view, I agree with Abhijat. Why not? Why not?
You've never had a Supreme Court Bar Association president, woman president. You never had any High Court Bar Association
not?
with the president.
I can-
Why
You
not?
have never had, maybe one. Bar Council of India,
I
you
can
never
give
had.
you one example.
You never had a woman
Which is
president.
very strange,
Which one?
Pinky, which is very strange. I was a secretary at that time when I had gone to Pakistan. There was a woman lawyer who was a president of the Lahore Bar.
You're talking
Yes.
about Asma Jahangir.
Asma Jahangir.
No,
Asma
no,
Jahangir
not
was
Asma
the-
Jahangir, Mokar.
But Asma Jahangir is also the president.
Asma
We were
Jahangir
there
was,
together. We were
Asma
there
Jahangir
together.
was in Supreme Court. I'm talking about High Court,
Court.
which is totally dominated by typical Punjabi mentalities, and their mentality is feudal. But they preferred, and that woman won, Khokar. So that's what I was saying. There was one
No,
woman.
there's Pakistan, yeah.
Asma Jahangir was an institution.
One woman
Asma-
army. She was a one woman army,
Aye.
like Pinky.
No, but really, I admire Asma Jahangir. I've been with her, and I think what she did there, considering the bar itself, even considering the judiciary, everybody was being put behind bars there. Forget anybody else but lawyers. So, I mean, fortunately, here we don't have. What do you think about lawyers' position on strike?
Just one, we forget to mention Mrs. Santosh Mishra,
Yes,
who's led the Patiala House Bar multiple times after contesting election.
that's right.
And she has been a very popular president.
No, but I have a take on what Vivek said. Ultimately, yes, there are two positions, reservation, no reservation. Whether you should have reservation because that dilutes your position, Rachna Srivastav statement, etc., in those kind of lights, and that is there. But what do you do when the ball doesn't roll? You have to start the ball rolling. Reservation should not be by any means a permanent stage, but at least to start it somewhere. Now you're going to have the first Chief Justice
People
of India.
forget you-
Chief Justice of India as a woman. You're going to have it in 2027.
Pinky on an experimental basis. Why not?
I think experimental basis, no one is going to say anything. That's a very good idea. Provided I agree with him, and you would also agree with me, a person having a proper brief, a proper understanding of the... See,
We should have the same criteria for men also.
men also,
Yes.
and it is there. Many a time you had non-practicing lawyers coming as an office bearer.
See, therefore I say, don't put in conditions which are not universally across the board. They have to be across the board for anybody. You don't have for men, don't have for women, put in a reservation, try it out, work it out, see for some time, then rest will follow. It happened in each of these processes. When you had the 33% in Gram Panchayats, everything, it worked
But
out.
Santosh Mishra defined that...
It's very good. We will have, I'm saying Chief Justice Nagaratna also is
Rachana
coming in.
Srivastav has done that.
Yes, of course. It's very great. Whichever way you do it, the point is it should happen. So, I mean, we ultimately
issue.
look forward for that. But what are the other issues that you think, Abhijat?
Strike you started.
Yeah, strike, exactly.
Yeah, that's a very favorite subject. Well, strike...
I've seen I saw 6 months of
As a
strike.
young boy, when I had just 2 years or 3 years of standing, strike was the biggest a lollipop. Like, you're sick and tired of work, working with senior and all. And at a drop of hat, you'll really realize there's a strike. So you were so happy. But when you became senior, you realize, slightly senior, not senior advocate, that strike is not good. But strike is something which I would say has been, at least the Delhi High Court bar, I can say, and that's how we learn. And you would remember, when Justice T.P.S. Chawla was not elevated as Chief Justice, there was a strike and he was elevated as the Chief Justice. When Justice R.C. Jain, he was the Chief Justice for 4 days. For 4 days. There was a strike. He was. When Justice Kochar was not elevated as a High Court judge, there was a
But
strike.
there was a strike also when this entire episode happened in Tisazari and the police came in. There was a strike
And
for
the
almost
bifurcation,
6 months.
1992
Bifurcation.
big strike.
No, that's we're talking about Delhi High Court. So Delhi High Court
No,
strike.
Delhi High Court also had.
Delhi High
At the
Court
period I'm
strike
talking.
has been very, very fever and on a point where everyone thought that this is needed. We have this recent Bar Council thing, and I said it on an open podcast, and I said, when it comes to a lawyer's issue, if a lawyer is beaten somewhere, if a lawyer and if the authorities are not taking action, like if you remember, I was defending a lady lawyer, and there was an attack on my house.
Yeah.
So I was personally concerned about that. But then everyone said strike. I said no strike. If the authorities are not going to take any action, fortunately for me, I was the president. There was a suo moto, so we did not go for a strike. And thereafter, you know the story. Thereafter, nothing happens. But anyhow, we avoided that strike situation. So strike has to be balanced. If there is a need for a strike, if you feel that the authorities, and at times, sometimes, on small, there may not be a small issue. If you remember, during Mr. Lekhi's time, the air condition was not working, and our administrative authorities were not taking any action. So there was a strike. So next day, you found that everyone started, okay, let's repair the air conditioning.
Yes.
So strike would depend on a situation, but yes, strike cannot be in Delhi High Court, I believe, last 2 years, 4 years of my time or his time, I don't think we've gone on.
No, we haven't.
No,
We haven't.
We have.
Once.
When? Very briefly, I think.
No. It was a big issue when the pecuniary jurisdiction
Ah,
was
yes.
enhanced.
That was.
In the year 2015, and against all odds, the executive of which I was a part, we struck work for around 10 days. And because that was a necessity, the entire existence of work available for youngsters was being threatened. And it was successful insofar as we got the thing delayed and we got the Commercial Courts Act, which reduced the pecuniary jurisdiction from 2 crores to 1 crores insofar as commercial disputes were concerned. So that strike, and I'm facing contempt for that in the Supreme Court. It is Common Cause versus Abhijat. I'm the only member of the bar, and that contempt petition has been going on for the past.
It happens. When you take on these leadership positions, you tend to come into these.
No, even I and Mr. Chandok have been roped in a contempt for these situations.
So strike is the exception and not the norm. We are very happy that we are a body of professionals. We are not a trade union. And we will not strike work for issues which don't really matter too much or which are trivial in nature. But when the existence of the work or other things of the lawyers are threatened, yes, certainly there will be strikes.
Okay.
May I just also
Please,
contribute
please.
to this? I am generally against strikes by lawyers. I believe in challenging the cause, challenging the issue. If there is a grievance, if there is a grudge, if there is a cause of action, I believe in challenging that in the court of law as a legal community. And strikes in the Delhi High Court should be symbolic in the most exceptional circumstances. Now that depends upon the day when the issue crops up, but it should be most exceptional because it's a suffering to the legal community, the litigation community. As it is, we are overburdened with cases. They're just piling up to nowhere. So therefore, strike generally no. Most exceptional cases, a symbolic strike may be okay.
A black ribbon.
Maybe that's
I have one question to ask all of you, and I think I'll ask Pallavi to then take a couple of questions from each of you. What do you think of time limit for arguments? I do believe it has a serious impact on disposal of cases down the line. Do you think time has come for us to head in that direction?
Pinky, let me start again. We have a lot of judges even today who are able to complete the board once when they start with the Passover matter. There are some benches which are not able to even complete their supplementary. The biggest disadvantage is that you can't say that what are you doing. See, if you remember in a early days, 80s, a High Court judge, I remember Justice H.L. Anand, who was a very is still one of the most respected persons.
Absolutely, father figure to me.
Father figure to a lot of people. So he used to say, in a kachi peshi, and that's how he used to say, in a kachi peshi, you require only 5 to 7 minutes. What is your prayer? Where have you filed this document? How have you pleaded in which paragraph? And now you have an advantage, the other side also comes. So, unfortunately, we lawyers, I mean, I'm not blaming only the other side, but I'm blaming us, our community also. We start and start. And we don't know where we go. It all starts with the Ramayana. We enter into Mahabharata, and at the end, if you remember, I always joke, like, Jaane Bhi Do Yaro movie. Like, in the end, it started with Ramayana or went up to Akbar. So, time limit, you're right, time limit. If in 10 minutes you are not able to explain your matter, either there's something, and again, I can't quote a judge. He said, if in 10 minutes you are not able to explain in a kachi peshi, there's something wrong with you. Or something wrong there also. So that depends. Time limit should be there.
Your take, Abhijat?
My 2 bits, ma'am. I completely agree that brevity is the need of the hour, given the backlog and the number of cases which are listed every day. Because nobody wants to be in court till 5:30, 6 o'clock. And obviously everybody wants to do their matters and go back. But there are times when there are lawyers who are not very accomplished. They are new to the High Court. They are young lawyers. They are juniors who take time in explaining. They can't explain. And if the clock starts running, if they are against a stopwatch, they will fumble. They will not be doing justice to their client. So there is play in the joints, and the bench must regulate things. Like if a senior advocate is arguing and going on and on, it is the bench's duty to cut him short and bring him back on track. But if a junior is arguing...
That reminds me, what about senior advocates? There's been a bit of a controversy here.
I slightly differ here. A junior advocate is well prepared. A senior advocate is all cooked up food. So
may I also just say?
So I just want to finish it up.
Please.
So a junior is well prepared. Unfortunately, very fewer judges, like in our time also, there were very fewer judges who would listen to youngsters. Today also, some of them they listen, some of them encourage. In our time, I remember, you remember, Justice Arya, Justice Badwa, Justice Kripal, they would encourage. But yes, time limit would be applicable to everyone, irrespective of the fact. And it's like a youngster would know that within 10 minutes, if I have to explain that matter, he'll explain. And Kachi Peshi, I said, what is your prayer? Where is the document? And where have you pleaded? You don't require anything else.
And on the lighter side, ma'am, there are times when you desperately need an adjournment. And one big ploy is to bore the judge to grant you an adjournment.
To take a number of
What
books,
happens to those cases?
Take 25 books, put them there.
वो हमारे टाइम पे होता था।
हमारे टाइम में ये होता
अब तो मैम किताबें
लाला राम
नहीं-
गुप्ता जी 50 किताब रख देते थे एसएन मारवा
Okay,
साहब
अब तो किताबें
विवेक
नहीं-
you must.
I am all for setting broad time limits. They can't be put in seconds and minutes. First of all, it will help judges finish off their list. Secondly, the other side of the coin to what Abhijat mentioned. The other side of the coin is also the younger lawyers will feel that the system is far more equal.
They'll be too
because-
hollow.
Because
They'll be too hollow. The younger people don't need it.
Yeah.
They can manage.
Younger lawyers, many young lawyers have this feeling, I am not given a good hearing, but a senior counsel is given a long hearing.
Never mind.
So let there be consistency.
They will groom-
It's the
I
other
have
side
a
of the
last
coin.
They will
question
groom
before
up
we
like
go
that.
there.
I'm in favor of setting time limits.
They will groom
I
up.
have a question here. What do you think about the recent appointment of senior advocates? And that's my last question. Your take.
Well, that's going to be a very controversial. It's very
Why
unfortunate.
should it not be controversial?
It's very unfortunate the way it has happened. And see, I have seen rejections of a lot of people, be it the lawyers who have gone up to Supreme Court. And I don't want to name them, you also know. There are 3 advocates of a Delhi High Court whose applications were rejected and they went up to Supreme Court as a judge. There are a lot of senior advocates whose applications were dismissed and then they became Solicitor General and all that. The system has never been foolproof. And why I say so is, and I can give my example. I was rejected at a very first instance because I had said, as an office bearer, I am not going to apply. So they smashed me. I went to a friend of mine and I said, what is this? I mean, I have no difficulty that you've rejected, but you accepted A, B, C, D. If you think that I am lesser than this guy, then please tell me. I'm not going to file. No, you file it. Next time, fortunately, I got 80%. So he said, देखो बन गए ना. अरे मैंने कहा सर अब ये तो बता दो मैंने कौन सा केशव नंदन भारती का मैटर कर लिया जो आपको लगा सुपरस्टार आपका रह गया था. So what is this criteria? Please tell me. 1 year back, you are rejected. 1 year after that, and I can name lot of young lawyers, good lawyers. I mean, जिनका 2-3 बार rejection हुआ है. Just because their father, when they were a high court judge, they had done something to some judges. So it was kind of a revenge against them. And it's very unfortunate. Today I see, take an example of Vrinda Grover. Why talk of High Court only? I consider that, I mean, how bad it can be. That Vrinda Grover, who is a known lawyer nationally and internationally, her application is rejected. Just because she's bold. She's vociferous. So, but what is the solution? Now you have 3 people from your bar, 3 people from the judiciary. I don't know, like either, if you really ask me, the only idea is when they have to decide who's going to be the senior advocate, it's better that instead of an application you say, Pinky, I want you to become a senior advocate. People like them had to go somewhere else. People like them had to go somewhere else. What is this criteria? I don't agree with this. I am a beneficiary of this criteria, but I don't agree. But what is the solution? That my friend will say.
Okay, Vivek,
Yes.
your take, but can we keep it a little short?
Yes,
Because I want Pallavi to come in and then
I'll keep
Abhijat.
it very crisp and short. I have said in my manifesto and time and again, the senior designation process needs reform, imperative reform. And I'm sorry to say that the senior designation process that happened the last time was a disaster. And I'm not saying it, the whole bar is talking about it.
Apparently it is the talk of town.
What we need to do, in my view, we need more transparency. So if I'm interviewed, if there's an interaction, there must be reasons put on record, some marks, something, why I have not been selected, why the other man has been selected. Why Vrinda Grover only? Look at Rajat Aneja, Sunil Mittal, KC Mittal. Now I am not here to reopen the list of 70 people who have made it.
Yes,
Very
yes.
good. But in the times to come, and I am willing to bite the bullet, I am willing to take a stand on this. We need reforms, we need more transparency, and we need the voice of the bar to be stated to the judges. That this is not on. This is not on.
If you remember, Mr. Chandok's designation, twice it was rejected.
Twice
it was rejected.
I was rejected a couple of times.
I was
In
a
spite
part of the executive
in
committee.
spite of
And God bless Mr. Makhija, senior Makhija. He was the president. We were like executive, and we raised our voice because, again, some people they didn't even deserve it. And we thought that Mr. Chandok deserves it. We went there. Mr. Ravikant Chadda was also there in a part as a senior. And then there was Justice Mahendra Narayan, I still remember. He said, this is not lawyer's concern. So we had to, Mr. Makhija,
I
God
was
bless him.
rejected a couple of times.
And Mr.
In
Makhija
spite
said,
of-
you say whatever you have to say. Then we all said it in chorus. When it is a lawyer's concern, a lawyer is beaten in Gujarat, it's a judge is beaten in Gujarat, it is a lawyer's concern. When it is a judge is not elevated as Chief Justice, it is a lawyer's concern. But when one comes to a lawyer's this thing, sorry.
It should be institutional.
Pinky,
Abhijat, once
Pinky,
again.
I want to
Vivek,
say something.
one
I
minute.
was
Maybe so,
rejected
hey.
a couple of times.
Let's have Abhijat's take on this.
Although I was one of the 70 who got designated this time, pithily put, more transparency, more probity, more accountability. The committee of 6 should be a recommending body, not a recommending body. They should only do the ministerial act of marking and place the entire matter before the full court, who should have the final say. To say that this committee of 6 will decide and the full court meeting will be a mere formality, I think that's not the scheme of the act. So these reforms are necessary, and more importantly, it should be an annual or a 6-monthly exercise so that the number of applicants is less and there's less burden on the system. You can't open a system after 5 years and then say we limit it to 30 or we limit it to 50. There have been aspirations for the past 5 years, people are waiting for it. So there's bound to be heartburn.
There's bound to be heartburn, and it's also quite a change of events. So Pallavi, we leave it at that for this. Pallavi, had asked you to take your last rapid fire kind of questions. So this is the first time that we've had this great event happening where all the presidents men, and hopefully tomorrow it will be all the presidents men and women contesting and putting forth their propositions on the elections and the great bar that we have in the present case. Pallavi, you're here with us, and thank you so much for Bar and Bench for collaborating on this event. So I would want you to have this great rapid fire test. Everybody must pass it though.
Yes. Thank you. So my first question is, what do you offer over the other candidates and what is your USP in one line, please? Kirti, will start with you.
I can only say, I have an image of big brother and I want to be a big brother only because that's how the youngsters they feel, मैं हूँ ना.
Abhijat?
USP, my willingness to work, my performance in the past, and my willingness to hear and solve problems.
Okay. Vivek?
First of all, level playing field for young first generation lawyers. Secondly, taking a stand, against the designation process, gender equality. All decisions of the bar should be taken at the general body meetings, collective decision making.
Okay. And one thing you admire about your opponent. So you have to tell for Abhijat and Vivek.
They're making me run from pillar to pillar,
Is that for both or for Abhijat?
for both.
Okay.
So I'm fighting with two intellectuals.
Yeah.
Kirti Bhai, the simplicity of thought process, and Vivek Bhai, the dignity with which the campaign has been run.
Mr. Kirti Uppal, he's very frank in his opinion, he's very straightforward, and Abhijat, my good friend, very suave, very gentle, very soft.
Thank you. What do you have to say about, do you think the practitioners who've been doing bar politics for many years have an edge over the ones who are jumping into the fray now?
It's not a bar politics. This word politics being used is denigrating the profession. It's not a politics because here, at least he'll agree, it's a sacrifice. Your personal life goes for a toss. Your life starts at 8:30 from cremation ground to various things, then the problems, then solving the problems if they're solved, and then hearing all those people's grievances. It's a lot of consumption of time. And because God gives you that kind of energy and that kind of a shakti, that you listen to their problem and you're able to do something which very few people get.
So you've been doing that for a while. So do you have an edge over the practitioners who are getting into this now?
One line should I say? And I always say this, in IMA, when you go there for your interview, you are asked to write about yourself. And if you have to write about yourself, you'll never write anything which goes against you. And if you write all those things which are not true about your personality, there are people who are sitting there. They are psychoanalysts, they are commanders, they are everything. They see. मैं कुछ भी बोल सकता हूँ. मैं ये करूँगा, मैं वो करूँगा. मैंने ऐसा किया. I have done this. They are the people who are sitting there. They know what I have done. So they'll choose the best.
It works both ways. If you have been in the executive in the past, if you have performed, yes, it gives you an advantage. But if you are a non-performer, you stand exposed. So it works both ways. There's no definite advantage that accrues. It's your performance that counts.
Yeah. And you are contesting for the first time.
I'm the first timer. I think
that's why Pallavi chose this particular question among three of you.
Excellent. I think the edge they have over me is experience. But as Abhijat said, that if you did not perform, you also have a negative baggage around me. And being a first timer, the advantage I carry is I have fresh ideas on the table. People look at me with fresh set of eyes.
Great.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Do you think bar elections need reforms and there should be curb on the amount of spending that happens in elections?
I not only agree, I wish it's very unfortunate that we should have started all this long time back. The thing which you people have started, if this becomes a part of our next elections, this is the best thing. You have podcasts, you have all this thing. Why do you need expenditure? If you're meeting everybody the same way, if you're shaking hands, if people are coming, hugging you, and you're hugging, you're watching a board, person comes, you hug him or her. That's what is required, a connect.
Yeah.
So if you have a connect, you don't have to spend. And that's simple.
Very quickly, expenditure doesn't guarantee you votes. It perhaps increases the public perception, that's all. Secondly, if every candidate scrupulously follows the election code, there will be no expenditure. It's only if there is no level playing field and somebody breaches once, then the others have to follow. So, expenditure is something which never gets you
So you're
votes.
saying take action against the first.
You must.
In fact, the judgment by which we will have one day all elections says that no parties and all that and all that.
Yeah.
Now, that needs to be implemented at the ground zero. It's very difficult to implement that. Proxy parties, you regulate only to a certain extent, but definitely it's a fantastic thought. And I would definitely commend that we should follow the concept which is followed in the Supreme Court. Timely elections every year, very narrow, the dates are there, and I think they're very finely fought and regulated and organized.
Okay, mandatory stipend for junior lawyers, yes or no?
Yes, completely.
Well, I told you I belong to that old school of thought, but in my chamber, yes, when God was kind to me, I realized the problem. It is not only mandatory, it should be equivalent to their lifestyle which they are living.
Yes, yes, and yes.
You are for the younger
Yes,
lawyers.
yes, yes, yes.
No, no, we're all for the younger.
Yeah.
We all belong to that. चलो बाद में बताऊंगा.
Foreign law firms entry, should they be allowed or not?
In my view, not at this point in time, because the various bar associations across the country are yet to become, they're yet to come on par. I was at the Harvard Law School about 10 years back. They were talking about foreign law firms entering India. What to talk of foreign law firms entering into India? You can't appear without a local lawyer in Noida or Ghaziabad or Hapur. So first we need democratization and reforms within our bar association before we invite them over. So no at this point in time.
Okay.
No entry of foreign law firms at this stage unless there is complete reciprocity. Our law degrees and our licenses given by the Bar Council should be recognized in the jurisdictions from which the law firms want to come to India. Indian lawyers are not inferior. They have to be recognized, there has to be reciprocity, and then we'll think.
It's a futile exercise because, first of all, no law firm will be allowed here.
Local bars will not permit them to come.
Foreign law
That's
firm,
what he's saying.
No foreign law firm will be allowed here. It's as simple as anything.
Okay, so
Flexing of muscles, huh?
should lawyers or law firms be allowed to advertise?
Not at all.
Aren't they advertising?
Not according to me, because it actually lowers the dignity. It's a noble profession and we should not be selling our wares. The client should seek us out and find us.
Not at all. Otherwise, the profession
now
of
things
law.
have- now things have-
Otherwise, the profession of law will become a business.
Now things are
not
slightly,
at all.
Now things are slightly different.
Not
because
at
your
all.
judgments-
We must stick to traditional principles of no publicity, no advertisement.
Okay, the majority is more than no. Okay,
In a
and
general way, your last few questions have actually brought a very common kind of uniform consensus on these issues.
yeah, and what are you going to do next to get timely elections next time? Every time there's a delay, as we all know. What are you going to do if you're elected to make sure there's timely
And
elections?
I place this on record and it's being captured on video. 1 month's grace period and the elections will be held in the month of April 2027.
See, this is again a misnomer that delay has been done on our part. It's not the lawyers who have done the delay. The matter was in the court. And as what happens in other matters, it happened here also, in election matters. When you have a mechanism, and that mechanism is that 6 months prior to the election, the process will start. Once the process starts, and if it is not over, that committee will be taken over by an ad hoc committee. So it's not going to benefit anyone.
Yeah.
So once you have made that law, you have to implement that law.
I strongly believe elections must be held on time. I shall put in my papers the day my tenure ends.
Okay. And one last question. How does the bar hold you accountable once you're elected to your manifestos in next 6 months or a year? How do they hold you accountable to what you have committed?
Non-performing, high-headed presidents have been beaten up by bar members in the past. So that is one way of holding people accountable. This simple, you don't perform, you don't get elected. That's all.
I'm sorry, I was thinking of something else.
What do you do to presidents who don't act?
They don't act. It's a very simple thing. Next time you will never come. A. B. Our members are so proactive that even if you're not doing, they won't spare you. They'll catch hold of you and say, you did this, you did this, you said this, you said this. So you will be accountable every day. This is not a question of a member of parliament or a MLA who comes after 5 years. That man is seeing you every day. That man will say, you liar, you said this.
The legal community is very, very active. And you congregate in the court every morning, in the bar room, corridors of the court, canteen. So you are accountable each day. You can just not get away from your manifesto and the promises you have made.
So whoever gets elected out of all of you, and of course there are 1 or 2 more candidates, ultimately will be accountable there. So good.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
There is a high level of accountability in the Delhi High Court bar, in my view.
Okay, that's it. Thank you,
Thanks.
and may the
Thank you
best
very
one
much.
win.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you
Bar
so
mates
much,
for
everybody.
inviting us.
Thank
We are
you.
delighted that you could find this energy to come forth for this program,
Thank
and you came through so willingly. And we hope that we can form this as a sequence for your interaction with your
Can you take
communities.
a panga with Pinky?
You can't.
It's as simple as anything. Pinky said you have to come.
But a great
Thank
platform
you.
for us to
Great,
interact
great.
and
Thank
hear
you.
our views.
Lovely.
Thank you very
lovely.
much.
Yeah.
Thank
Lovely.
you.